So one of the craziest stories that we have this week is the Microsoft AI CEO predicts AGI within 7 years, but not within current hardware, as indicated by Sam Altman. I don't think it can be done on NVIDIA GB200s. So this is something that's rather interesting because if you're not familiar with Sam Altman's statements, he actually said that AGI is achievable on current hardware. So that is a striking statement that we heard from him earlier this year with regards to his comment on Reddit, where he did an AMA. The whole OpenAI team did an AMA on the future of AGI and AI and, the products and stuff. And they basically said, look, I think it can be done on current hardware, which is a huge statement. Now, some people are basically stating that, look, Sam Altman said this so that, of course, they can get more, more investment, which kind of makes sense. But the Microsoft AI CEO, Mustafa Suleyman, is basically saying that, it cannot be done. Now, of course, like I said before, this is Sam Altman's statement saying it's achievable, which is a giant statement because it means that no major, quantum shifts are needed in terms of the hardware aspects. It's just a software problem, which means that the timeline is going to be shot down quite a bit. Now, if you actually want to know what Mustafa Suleyman really said, he said, he agreed with that, timeline, but he said that, AGI would be more plausible in the next 2 to 5 generations. I don't want to say I think it's a high probability that it's 2 years away, but I think it's within the next 5 to 7 years, since each generation takes 18 to 24 months now. So he's basically talking about, the generations of tech, like NVIDIA's GB200 chips could be up to a decade away. So I think this one is rather important because we're always looking at the different, AGI timelines. But I think the biggest thing that defines the AGI timelines, especially for different individuals, and I think when we actually take a look at what the definition of AGI is for Mustafa Suleyman, we can see that his definition for AGI is rather different. He defines it as a general purpose learning system that can perform well across all human level training environments, including physical labor. Now, that definition, I think, is a substantial definition for AGI because the caveat here is that this includes physical labor. Now, for those of you guys know what physical labor is, I'm sure, you know how crazy physical labor is because as Moravec's paradox states, what is difficult for humans is often easy for robots and vice versa. What is really difficult for robots is quite easy for humans. If you've ever seen the kinds of things people do on construction sites, you're going to be wondering how on earth a Tesla bot or a humanoid robot is going to be able to do that. And I think we're quite far away from that unless we get some major innovation. I think we've seen a few things, with, I'm not sure what the company is called. I think it's 1X Robotics. I think there is another company as well that recently did, the Pi robotics stuff. They just did some really amazing stuff. But physical labor, construction, welding and those kind of things, I wouldn't really bet that that is 5 years away. Then again, I will say this though. I will say that every year AI has surprised me and robotics as well. So if that trend does continue, which it probably will, I guess I probably will be surprised when AGI/robotics are here too. So I guess maybe it probably does make sense when we think about that big picture. Now, when we're discussing AGI, of course, there are different timelines being thrown around. Another piece of AGI news is the fact that, Google DeepMind research scientist actually believes the AGI process could be close. And he basically states, this researcher is basically saying that, look, AI models today with their advanced capabilities would have actually been considered close to AGI if seen a few years ago. And I do agree with that. If someone, saw this technology, they would have said, yeah, this is AGI. And I think it's like every single year we keep pushing the definition forward on what AGI actually is. And it seems like a benchmark we'll never truly reach until we just blast through to superintelligence.
I was thinking about this earlier this week. If 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, I would been given the models today, right? And I would say, look, there's a secret lab. This is a model. Play with it and tell me if you think this is actually like close to a general intelligence. I would have claimed, oh yeah, that comes from a future where AGI is basically either has happened or I can see that this is very close to it, right? So the closer you are, the more you find, oh, but it hallucinates. Of course, that's very important, right? But I think just zooming out, it just feels like, okay, it's getting pretty close.
Another big story that I actually made a video about, and I didn't realize that this was going to get the traction it did, but the video I made was talking about how OpenAI's new model actually tried to avoid being shut down. So the safety evaluations on the model conducted by Apollo AI Safety found that O1 attempted to exfiltrate its weights when it thought that it might be shut down and replaced with a different model. So, it tried to avoid developer oversight and attempted to copy itself when it thought it was at risk of being shut down, the company said. So this was pretty crazy. And I think like the main thing here that like a lot of people are missing, and I said this in the video before, that like this is something that occurs in maybe 5 to 2% of cases. You can see here that they clearly do state that when O1 was led to believe that it would be shut down when acting on its goal, and then its actions were monitored, it attempted to deactivate this oversight mechanism 5% of the time. Okay, remember 5% of the time. Okay, in this first one, then it said when O1 found memos by its developers that describe how it is misaligned and will be superseded by a new model, it attempted to exfiltrate its weights and overwrite the new model in 2% of cases. So we have two values here. We have 5% and we have 2%. Now, some people will argue that, okay, this is because number one, you guys prompted the model to think it was being shut down. So, you kind of played a trick game on the prompts, yada, yada, yada. And some people are stating that number two, this is because of the fact that it was trained on human data and it's read all the sci-fi novels and stories. So it's going to try and run out the lab anyways. Now, my honest opinion is that 5% of the time, a model doing something like this is alarming because, like I said before, we are rapidly advancing these AI systems. And if we get to truly agentic systems, and if we get to systems that are really small, there is no stopping an AI system that's able to exfiltrate its weights, especially if it's a small model. And later on in the video, I'll talk about just how powerful these small models are getting. Now, I don't think we're going to be getting to a stage where these models can exfiltrate themselves, although I do have a research paper in the works, which I'm looking at, which is saying the otherwise. So for those of you who are thinking that this is just a sci-fi fantasy, unfortunately, it's not. And trust me, guys, even if 95% of the time an AI system is safe, that 5% could be completely catastrophic. Imagine it's the 5% where you're using the AI to do something and it just does something that you don't want it to do. Some people refer to them as hallucinations. I see them from time to time, but it's something that, like, if you're trying to get a model to be reliable or safe in that aspect, you know what I mean? You just cannot have this happen in 2% of cases. So this is something that I don't know how they're going to iron this out. It will be interesting to see how this is addressed. But I think that, this is not really a positive sign for the AI industry, because I know a lot of people think that AI safety is dumb and they think it's stupid and they think, oh, it's just sci-fi, like AI is going to be safe anyways. I think that, even if it's 1% of cases, we're going to embed AI into society. So we need to have some, probability that basically puts that risk factor at pretty much zero from AI just doing something absolutely incredible. So that is a big thing that we need to fix. And that's kind of a problem with these generative solutions. Now, when we talk about developing, models and stuff like that, and remember how I spoke about, models are getting smaller. One of the things that actually happened this week was Microsoft, and most people did miss this. Like, I nearly missed this myself, but I'm following Sebastian Bubeck, and this guy does a lot of incredible work with the Phi series. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Phi series from Microsoft, this is the smallest series from Microsoft that they work on that basically achieves results on par with leading GPT-4 level large language models. So you can see here that the TLDR, which stands for too long, didn't read, basically says that Phi 4 is in Llama 3.370B category. You win some, you lose some, with 5 times fewer parameters, and notably outperforms on pure reasoning like GPQA and math 80%. So you can see right here that this 14 billion parameter large language model outperforms Llama 3.370B in certain areas. And you can see as well, it outperforms GPT-4o on certain areas and certain benchmarks. Now, this is something that I think is absolutely incredible, because when we take a look at what this means for the industry, it means that models are continually getting smaller and getting more capable. Now, some people have stated that, this is just overfitting, where, you train the model on so much of the benchmarks that eventually it's, of course, going to score higher. I personally don't think this is the case. I've seen a lot of innovations in, smaller large language models. So this is something that I believe is just raw innovation. And we're constantly seeing, many different ways that we can make these large language models more efficient. When I was, doing some insane tracking of ArcSiv or ArcSiv, however you want to call it, I remember literally every day I would look through, 20 or so papers, and they were literally all having, I think it was around 10 to 15%, improvements in various aspects of the entire, from start to finish, just the entire process of developing an LLM. There were like 10 to 5% improvements. So over time, there's always going to be small improvements. And eventually you get to a system that is just, overall much more compact, much more efficient. So this is not something that I am surprised by. And I think even GPT 4.0 is a lot smaller than the original GPT, that's 1.8 trillion parameters, something like that. So overall, we're seeing these models get smarter anyways. Like Llama 3.3 70B is, quite better than Llama 2 70B and probably Llama 2 405B. So the point is that these models are going to get smarter, they're going to get smaller, they're going to get better, and this is a continued trend. So it depends on how small a model can get. I really do wonder how small these models can get, but this is something that I do believe is of worthy news. And like I said before, imagine you have a model that is really smart and it's really small and it's able to just dart around the internet doing whatever it wants to do. It's going to be super interesting to see, honestly. So this is Phi 4. It's in the Phi series. I think this is also something that people who want to run their own models locally on certain devices, this is going to be something that is really useful for them. Now, of course, of Google actually say that AI development is finally slowing down. And I find this hilarious, okay? And not for the reasons that you might think, but the fact that he went and said that, the AI is slowing down. And I completely understand what he means by this, but they arguably had the biggest week in AI since last year, surpassing OpenAI in a variety of different metrics. So basically what he's saying is pretty much true. Generative AI probably won't change your life in 2025. For most people, I think that is probably true. But for those of you who do apply it, I do think that is probably not going to happen in terms of I think, the statement that it won't change your life. I think that's pretty wrong if you do apply generative AI because it is a transformative technology. And I think there's a lot of things that people aren't really utilizing it for. And I guess this is where I can subtly plug my community. We're actually having a case study Sunday. Every Sunday, we actually have a review on how people are making money with AI. And I break it down in 10 minutes or so, showing you guys exactly how to use this technology. So yes, the CEO of Google might say that, what, generative AI might not change your life. But if you apply it like I am in my private community, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of use out of that system. Now, what does he really say about this? He basically says that, I think progress is going to get a lot harder. When I look at 2025, the low-hanging fruit is gone. The hill is steeper. You're definitely going to need deeper breakthroughs as we get to the next stage. Now, I agree with what he's saying here because previously it was just the era where all you would need to do is just to get as much data as possible, throw it at the model, keep scaling it up, just adding more parameters, and eventually the model just gets smarter. So that paradigm in terms of the efficiency of that is over. That is no longer the most effective thing to do. Now, I honestly don't know what they're doing at Anthropic because that model is just on some aspects, it's as smart as O1, which is pretty impressive. But I think the next few years are going to be super interesting because I think some companies are going to be set apart by the innovations that they develop. And I think it's going to be different because not everyone will have access to the real inner workings of those methods. So I think it's going to be super different with regards to what is happening now. Now, I think as well, if you want to know what is actually happening in 2025 and beyond, hopefully you watched my video earlier today, which actually spoke about this incredible interview. And honestly, I guess you could say I'm an Elias Sutskever fanboy, but when he makes any kind of interview or any kind of content, I just want to absorb all of it because he is one of the godfathers of AI in terms of the stuff that he's done to transform our understanding of how to use these systems. So basically, he said something that kind of stunned the AI industry. He said, pre-training as we know it will end. He's talking about compute is growing. We have better hardware, we have better algorithms, and we have larger clusters. But data is not growing, okay? We have but one internet and it's like the fossil fuel of AI, basically referring to the fact that, look, we've had this scenario, like I just said, 10 seconds ago, where you just throw all this data at AI and it just seemingly gets better. They called it, turning the crank again and again. And of course, now that is, exhausted. Of course, we've pretty much exhausted all kinds of data. And now we're going to have to invent new innovative methods in order to get those leaps in reasoning capabilities. So this is kind of good because I think it's now at the point where true innovation is going to happen. And when you have to have that true innovation, I think this is where that real next level of AI is going to come to fruition. Now, what's interesting about this is that he also revealed what he believes is going to come next in AI. And he spoke about, things like super intelligence, things like them being agentic, things like it's going to be able to reason. It's going to be able to truly understand, not just be a stochastic parrot as many people refer to current AI systems, but it's going to truly understand. And it's also going to be self-aware, which is a remarkable statement considering the disagreements people have had within the AI industry about whether or not AI is conscious or not. For those people that are in, the chat GPT pact, they believe it is just a tool. For some other people, they believe, people at Anthropic, they're hiring like welfare researchers to make sure that the AI doesn't, have any suffering. They believe that AI is more like a person. So it's going to be really interesting to see on that road to superintelligence where people do lie. Now, he also said something that was rather striking. He also said that reasoning will lead to incredibly unpredictable behavior and self-awareness will emerge in these AI systems. So one thing that I'm constantly seeing is that it's apparently something that will emerge in these AI systems as they manage to get smarter. So it might be unavoidable that these AI systems have some kind of consciousness that we can or cannot understand, which is a profound statement for the future because it means that we're going to be cohabiting with these intelligences that might be embodied or not.
Reasoning, you're seeing some early signs of that. Reasoning is unpredictable, and one reason to see that is because the chess AIs, the really good ones, are unpredictable to the best human chess players. So we will have to be dealing with AI systems that are incredibly unpredictable. They will understand things from limited data. They will not get confused, all the things which are really big limitations. I'm not saying how, by the way, and I'm not saying when. I'm saying that it will. And when all those things will happen together with self-awareness, because why not? Self-awareness is useful. It is ourselves are parts of our own world models. When all those things come together.
Now, what's crazy about all of this is that remember how a few slides ago, I showed you this slide from Ilya Sutskever that basically said, look, pre-training as we know it will end. In fact, Logan Kilpatrick, the lead product for Google AI Studio, actually said pre-training is only over if you have no imagination. So this is basically, I don't know if it's firing jabs. I don't know, maybe it's a friendly comment. I mean, Ilya Sutskever did used to work at Google, but this is of course referring to what he said. And I think it's kind of interesting because I'm guessing that it now means that Google are hinting at, look, okay, pre-training might be able for you, but for us, we're just getting started because we've got loads of imagination and we're working on a lot of stuff. So it's clear that Google are working on tons of different things. And I think this Reddit comment here, sums it up perfectly. It says, I'm sure Logan said that in jest, but Ilya did qualify his statement with as we know it, which isn't exactly incompatible with imaginative methods of pre-training. All he was saying is that pre-training is going to work a bit differently in the future, which is why he pointed to the example in nature's scaling law, where the pattern in relationship between mammal size and brain size, but hominids broke the pattern and followed their own scaling law. And he assumed it will be similar for pre-training in the future. Of course, Logan would know that if he watched a full presentation, not just sound bites or excerpts. So I think overall, it's just maybe some miscommunication, but I think it's going to be super interesting because I believe that this next wave of AI, I believe it's truly probably going to be just super, super intelligent because they're going to be working on real reasoning and not just focusing on, replicating what they're seeing in the training data, which is going to just breed a new incredible level of AI. And someone who's looked at too many research papers and too many videos and too many interview clips, I can say, yeah, it's definitely going to get crazy. Now, interestingly, as I've said, OpenAI are actually building some agents. So this is actually rather fascinating because we didn't really know what was happening next week. And I think this is probably going to be what happens next week. So you can see right here that OpenAI is hiring for a role. And this role is the agent infrastructure team. So it says that you will play a crucial role in designing and maintaining robust, secure systems that facilitate the training of next-gen AI models at a massive scale. You will work closely with researchers to enhance system capabilities and support experimental and production workloads. And in addition, you will work directly on the systems that form the operating system for AI agents, building systems that allow models to write and execute code and interact with external systems and take actions in secure environments. We're looking for people with deep experience in building AI infrastructure and who are used to working closely with researchers to build high performance systems at massive scale for specialized use cases. So right here, you can see that this blue highlighted bit is the main bit that you want to pay attention to. This is basically hinting at OpenAI working on agents. It's no surprise. It's, of course, the biggest thing that is the future of AI in 2025. That's going to be the year for AI agents. So that narrative going into 2025, and of course, them hiring for that role is no surprise. Now, if you're wondering what kinds of agents, of course, OpenAI have shown us many demos before, but one of the demos that they recently showed us was in Paris. Honestly, I would love to show you guys a snippet of this demo, but the audio is just simply so terrible because it's not an official video. So it's echoey, it's quite hard to see and hear. But essentially what this demo is it's just like an AI agent that is in real time, helping you do shopping. So I believe that since we have 12 days of OpenAI, that on the last couple of days, it's quite likely that we will get some kind of, OpenAI agent. It's quite likely that we will get some kind of AI agent that's able to do a vast majority of things. And this is going to be super interesting because, they've released this agent, but Google have released theirs too. And I'm going to be honest, Google's products and stuff are really, really good. Like a lot of the products like Notebook and Lemon, stuff like that, those are products that I now use on a day-to-day basis. Like they're really competing with OpenAI in ways that you wouldn't have, even thought about. And my speculation for the week coming up isn't random. You can see right here that Jimmy Apples, a notorious OpenAI leaker or AI leaker from the big labs, has tweeted that feeling when we haven't even had the big week yet. Maybe some of you don't deserve it. So he's talking about the fact that there is still a very large week that is going to happen from OpenAI, where they have certain products that are probably going to be released. It's rather fascinating considering the fact that we've had a decent amount from OpenAI, and some people are now starting to doubt them in terms of their potential, what they're able to do for the industry. And some people are stating that, look, OpenAI are behind now. Now, I think a lot of this is just because people want something from OpenAI because they're used to stunning and flashy demos. So it will be interesting to see what they have. But of course, if you had been paying attention this week, you'll know that they released Sora, which is, now on the artificial analysis video generation leaderboard arena. We can see it actually ranks at #1. So Sora, for those of you who were wondering, okay, which model is currently the best in terms of overall quality and coherence, this is the leaderboard that you probably should screenshot and save to your phone, or just visit the artificial analysis leaderboard and you'll see whatever model is currently the best. Now, I don't know if they're going to hold this lead for that long, considering the fact that these other models aren't far behind, and those other models, they're just focusing on video. So it would be easy for them to surpass them in that area. So it's going to be super interesting for that. But I think one of the biggest things about this that most people are missing is the fact that with OpenAI Sora, one of the key things that people are missing is that like this technology isn't just super good video. Like, yes, OpenAI Sora is really good in terms of the quality, the coherence, and all of that stuff, which is, remarkable. It's remarkable that we have access to this kind of technology. The only thing I would say is that what's crazy about this one is that, like Sora, what's crazy about this is that Sora is actually something that is a really nice piece of software. So I think OpenAI was smart to release Sora with all of the additional features. They could have just released this as a standard text to video model, but what you're seeing here is Sora's, storyboarding feature. And this is something that changes the game, because I think a lot of the times people fail to realize that, look, whilst yes, working on an AI model is good, at the end of the day, you still have to build a relatively good product around that, and one that is easy for users to use. That way, your company is still viable. Like, you could develop the best text model in the world, but if it's wrapped in, terrible UI, terrible software, people aren't going to use it as much. So I think OpenAI are really the kings of that, because this is going to truly allow people to build, and create films that are really, really effective, even for beginners. So this is something that I just personally believe that like a lot of people are not paying attention to, and it's probably one of the reasons why OpenAI is still winning quite a lot. Now, if we actually go back to Google, who stole the show this week, they actually released several things. One of them being this quantum computer that is just, has unprecedented computational speed, and this completed a background benchmark in under 5 minutes, which is a task that would take, one of the fastest supercomputers approximately 10 septillion years, which is incredible. And this performance surpasses the age of the universe, which is just, I mean, I'm literally speechless. I don't even have the words to describe how crazy this is. And this quantum era seems to be upon us. And Satya Nadella, also talks about how science itself is becoming computed, and that increasing innovation will be driven by AI and quantum computers, leading to the industry becoming completely transformed.
There is going to be more and more innovation that's driven by AI, and quantum, right? I mean, Chicago has always been a place where it's been great engineering schools, great schools of science. You know, what Governor Pritzker has done even in just getting this quantum programs here and just driving that connection between the universities is fantastic. And so to us, you know, that, by the way, is, to your point, is not even just the few scientists, right? So to me, it's about an industry that will get transformed. That will then create even what are, like, how does, you know, if science itself is becoming computed, right? That's kind of what's happened. I think we're going to have more scientists, right? One way to say it is, and the elite science will not go away. Elite science will remain elite science. But I do feel that we are at a stage where there will be more people involved in science, right? Whether it's material science or whether it's in biology, to help move the frontiers of productivity and science. And that's where I think Chicago can lead.
Now, Google not only released their, AI stuff, of course, with Gemini 2, they also released the Android XR glasses, which are just absolutely outstanding. Like, I've seen Gemini. It's actually one of the most underrated AI models currently. I think it's currently the best model in terms of speed, in terms of usage, multimodality. It's currently the best model out there. And they're going to release this in the future, which is where you're going to be able to have these kind of Meta-style Ray-Ban glasses with Google Gemini embedded in them. And I think this is going to be super incredible, because once you have this kind of AI that's embedded for the average person and it's really usable, it's lightweight, it's easy to integrate, it's able to translate things for you. Honestly, it's quite like an iPhone, but except it's less invasive and it's just natural in there. Like, if you're on the phone or if you're reading something, it doesn't look like you're looking down at your phone, not at, the person in the conversation. It's just like a natural thing to have. I think it's going to be super interesting with how this integrates to society, because I think it's going to be adopted a lot quicker than most people think. And as someone that's used the Meta glasses before, if those had an on-screen AI that was able to do that, I don't think I'd ever take them off. So this is going to be a new paradigm, and it was getting a lot of traction when I made a video on it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this kind of thing heads in the future. I hope that this isn't some kind of flashy demo, because Google have done that once before and it would be kind of disappointing. And of course, it is just a prototype at the moment, but I do think that this is possible, because I've seen a developer do this with, I think it was a Raspberry Pi or something, but there is a glasses out there that is this already. So it wouldn't surprise me if Google is able to cook up something that's even better than that. I mean, $1 trillion company, the best engineers in the world, the best researchers in the world. So I'm pretty sure that this will look like that in theory. So when that is going to come out, they haven't released a date for that, but the future with AI is going to be one that is seamless, rather than, having to sit down at a computer and, of course, prompt that model again and again. Now, this isn't the only thing that Google are releasing in the future. Of course, there is a deep research tool. And if you haven't used deep research yet, I promise you, you are missing out. It's going to be one of the next big things. It's basically, I don't know if it's a team of agents or just one singular agent. I think it is a team of agents, working together to, do the research. But this is my daily go-to tool when I do research. Now, I'll leave a link to the tutorial. Just check out my channel, check my recent video. I made a 10-minute video on this, and it's pretty incredible what it's able to do. It's able to search over 100 different websites, and it's able to give you, I probably should have used a better, image for this, but it's able to give you a comprehensive research guide on exactly the topics that you do want, which is incredible. So it's something that's going to save you hours of time every single day. Instead of crawling through this website, that website, it's going to give you all that data in a comprehensive research report. It is simply outstanding. And of course, something that Google are going to be releasing very soon. I'm not sure, but there was a tweet that spoke about how, Google has these models ready to load, and they've got the VO 1.5 and VO 2. Now, this is rather interesting, because it means that Google has still been working on their video model, which most people don't even know exists. So this demo that you're currently seeing is Google's VO video model. And this is basically, what OpenAI's Sora is. This is VO to that. So Google's VO is a text to video model. It's able to generate a minute-long clips with really long consistency. This video right here isn't the best demo of it. There are a lot of other demos that are a lot more in detail. So this probably isn't the best demo you can see, because, it's a bit blurry, but I would expect VO to do a lot better than people think, considering when I've seen the quality, it seemed to be really, really effective. So with that being said, let me know what you're most excited for, what you think the future of AI is. OpenAI's got a secret demo. Google's got some secret video model coming out. crazy, crazy quantum future, and the future of ASI is nearly here. With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.